So
And we are back.
we're back. Jocelyn took a little while to get back. She got like 2 minutes before end of day email that she had to take care of, and well, here we are. uh, but we're gonna be doing a appliance tier list. I've added a few things to this just to flesh it out some more, but I feel like this covers a pretty wide range of the kind of things we'd have in our houses. Some of them may be kind of low tech, but I still consider them to be appliances because they're things you'll use every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're tools that are super useful. So let me talk about the tier list I have in my mind.
Okay.
So S tier is meta. This isn't necessarily something like a refrigerator that it's like, well, why wouldn't you have a refrigerator in your home?
Mm-hmm.
S tier is like, this will make your life better. Having this is a value add to your life. Whereas like A is like, you should have this in your house. That's where I would put like a refrigerator.
I'm not understanding how a refrigerator isn't meta because without a refrigerator, you can't keep fresh food. And keeping fresh food is a significant quality of life
It
improvement.
it is a quality of life improvement, but like, I don't know. The way I think about it is just sort of like every house has a fridge. Every house has like a microwave, you know? Not every house has, a washer and dryer. Not every house has uh a washing not washing machine, dishwasher.
Okay, but like, just because every house has it doesn't mean it's automatically S. Like,
Okay, how about
a
this? How
fridge is
about
S
this?
tier and a microwave's B tier.
Well, while we aren't like the biggest microwave users, I'd still say that most people should have a microwave.
The thing about a microwave is that it's just a faster, more convenient way to cook your food less good.
It is true. I don't disagree with
Like,
it.
it's slower and less convenient to reheat something on the stove or in the oven, but it comes out better. And if you have all the other stuff, uh, including the modern air fryer, you don't need a microwave. So it like
You know,
microwaves are useful and nice to have, but like it's not a requirement.
if we're talking microwave,
Uh huh.
because in my opinion, the
The
air
air fryer.
fryer is B.
The air fryer has become the better microwave.
Yes, the air
That's
fryer
fair.
has become the better microwave. Microwave has been power creeped.
Yeah.
Uh on that note, this is the toaster oven.
That's a toaster. Toaster ovens are air fryers.
Yeah.
In fact, toaster ovens are square air
Yeah.
fryers, and it's easier to fit things in.
The reason why I rank toaster oven lower than an air fryer, even though they do pretty much the exact same thing, these take up a ton of fucking space
Okay.
and are usually designed to have a designated spot on your counter forever. Whereas an
Yeah.
air fryer is something you can put away, set back up, put away, set back up, much like a blender, much like a stand mixer, much like
Okay.
a rice cooker. That's why I think air fryer wins out between the two. But like, I imagine most people probably have one or the other. We don't have a air fryer because it's just it's just a worse oven.
Is that a grill?
No, this is a well, maybe this would be stove. No. This is just like an oven. Oven stovetop.
It looks like a grill.
Well, no, this is the door that you open to put in your sheet.
Okay.
There's a
It's just taken from like a
here.
child's view.
There's an actual like grill here.
Okay.
Uh I personally think that while like the air fryer is the savior of every college student and kid who wants their chicky nuggies,
Uh-huh.
the oven is just a better tool to have around the house.
Yeah.
Does the same shit that these guys do,
But it takes up a dedicated space in your kitchen.
but has a stovetop,
Uh-huh.
has a compartment that can cook a lot of different things at a lot of different settings, and it's able to fit a large amount of a thing.
No, don't get me wrong. I think that the oven is the superior, like cooking and reheating mechanism. I I appreciate both the inside and the stovetop, but I was just mocking you for your air fryer versus toaster
No, no.
oven take.
So here's the thing.
Kitchens are built around where the oven and the fridge go.
Depending on your stove and your oven, stove can sometimes be temporary counter space.
Mm-hmm.
Toaster oven takes away counter space. Counter space to me is way more valuable than the theoretical space that the oven is taking up. Also, as you mentioned, we build around our fridge and oven in most houses and apartments.
Mm-hmm. If
Uh
it's a build around, should it be an S tier? If you're talking about like a video game, a build around.
yeah. You know, you're farming your relics around the oven. You're farming your relics around the oven.
Your whole build is centered around the oven.
Next up, coffee maker. I'm trying to view this from the perspective of someone who does drink coffee.
Yeah, it's hard because I just
I'd
like trash
say
it.
this is an easy B tier, I think, for your average person. Like, I think that not everybody has a coffee maker, but it's probably pretty useful for people who wake up every morning and have their, you know, like cup of coffee. You know, they're just their cheap brew from the grocery
Yeah.
store.
Does that include like all ranges of coffee maker? Like if you have like a nice pour over like coffee maker setup, does that include that, or is that like the next thing next to
No,
the
this
toaster?
is a this is a blender. This is a
I
kettle.
saw the okay,
This is
that's a kettle.
That is a good point. Let's do like espresso, I think is how it's spelled. Images. I wanted the machine. Without it. Espresso machine. Save image.
I mean, I'm willing as a non-coffee drinker to just lump it all in. Like your coffee appliance of choice goes here, and just
Okay.
rank that.
I can live with that. Cause like I think that coffee
Because not everyone wants like the cheap brew, but like if you're a coffee drinker, you probably have a coffee appliance, and they probably take up a similar footprint.
Yeah. I would say kettle is an A tier. Because I think the kettle is more versatile.
Yeah.
Because you can use it for making tea.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it for if you just need to boil water.
Uh-huh.
And you can use it for pour over coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a more multi-purpose tool. Even if you're not using it literally every day of your life, you can use it for a lot of different things. Whereas like coffee machines, they make coffee.
Counterpoint, you bought a kettle 6 to 8 months ago and have not used it once.
Well, you would have had a really good chance to use it not too long ago. I won't say for what, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for the drain.
And you chose not to do it.
Well, I forgot that we had it because I don't even know where it is.
It's in the pantry.
You bought it, you put it somewhere, and I do not know where it is.
We'll just put it with the coffee maker.
Like, if you want to order things within each tier, I'd put it at top of B tier, but it is by definition useful and nice to have. You can boil water on the stove.
That's true. But you need something to boil. This isn't necessarily an electric kettle exclusively. This is just a kettle, electric or otherwise.
Yeah, but you can like boil water in a pot.
Eh? I mean, toaster. We use the toaster almost every day.
We use the toaster a lot. My thought on toaster is that while we use it a lot, it's not super versatile. It's primarily used for bread, and if you're like a teenager, college student, Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
But that's like its only use.
I would rather have a toaster than a microwave. If you put a gun to my head and was like, pick one of these, I would choose a toaster any day.
I would too.
Are you saying that the toaster doesn't deserve to be an A? You should have this?
I'm just wondering if it deserves a B.
You're wondering if it deserves B?
Like, much like a kettle only boils water, a toaster only heats bread and bread products, and only ones that are of a certain shape and size.
Fine, fine. My wife's always right. How about blender?
Blenders are more versatile because you can.
Oh, is it because you make smoothies?
I toast bread too. This isn't just me and my bias in what I eat. Because you know what else we make in the blender besides smoothies?
We make
We make
hot sauce. We make salsa.
We make salsa. We make egg salad.
Yeah, we do. We use the blender actually a
We
lot.
use the blender a ton.
Okay. But I don't think it's meta. I don't think it's gonna change your life.
No.
This is a hand mixer.
A hand mixer.
I think it's a B.
I think it's a C.
A C. Is it because you'd put stand mixer in B?
Yeah. Like stand mixers they take up more space. Unlike what you said, I think stand mixers are designed to have a permanent spot on your counter. They're just so heavy.
That's true.
But
that's true.
you know, the hand mixer is like a single step above using your hands and a spoon to mix.
Yeah,
the stand mixer can like get a lot more done.
Yeah, and it does come with different hooks which can be
Yeah,
used for different kinds of
different hooks and
doughs.
paddles.
I'll move this above air fryer.
I think air fryer deserves to be above kettle if we're ranking things in. Air fryer might be top of B just because it's versatile in its category.
Toaster's just so much better. It's so affordable.
You could toast a bread in air fryer.
You could. I feel like that's a lot of cleaning to have to do just to toast some bread.
When I was a kid, my grandparents had a toaster oven. We would toast our bread in their toaster oven by putting the slice of bread in the toaster oven.
That's so inconvenient.
But that's what we had to do at my grandparents' house.
This one I want to do in batch. Well, so actually these three together. So this I'm pretty sure is the old-fashioned pressure cooker. Which trash it. Because you've got an Instapot and a crock pot. I think a crock pot is way better than the traditional pressure cooker. You just have to wait a little longer.
Crock pot, you just have to time it.
Yeah. I think crock pot's an easy B tier.
Yeah.
Like it's very nice to have. An Instapot, we use it a lot. From a meat eater's perspective, I have heard it is very useful for like cooking like meat dishes.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of like one Instapot pot recipes out there. And like most of them have meat, but like there's a lot of things you can do with an Instapot that just kind of like simplify and streamline cooking. And we don't do most of that. But what we do use the Instapot for
is making beans.
Which is a 2-day process if you use a normal pot.
Yeah. And you can get the beans really good using the Instapot. We make them in bulk. You can get pretty close to making like, you know, the traditional like refried bean style beans. Not exactly the same, but you can get pretty close. It's very tasty. Great for chili, great for making tacos. For a vegetarian, that alone makes it great for me. But I have a lot of friends who eat meat who use the Instapot to cook chicken, cook beef, a lot of stuff. They can use it to sous vide things. I think that the Instapot is something most people should have in their house.
You can even cook rice in an Instapot.
You can, but next up we have the rice cooker.
Is that an Asian rice cooker?
I can't quite tell. This is just the one that was in the tier list. My bias wants to put it in meta, but if you like rice, you should have a rice cooker.
Yeah.
You deserve a rice cooker if you enjoy eating rice.
You deserve a rice cooker with a microchip that detects the liquid
Yeah.
amount and cooks accordingly.
You deserve a nice rice cooker if you like rice. Next is a panini press. We have one of these. I use it maybe once a year.
Yeah, so by definition, D.
Yeah. Waffle maker,
Also D.
also D. Griddle,
Also.
also D. And I also want to point out that all three of these things take up a ton of space and you hardly ever use it. I'm on the cusp of throwing all these in the trash, but some people would use them maybe 2 or 3 times a year instead of the one time a year I use them.
My dad would use the griddle decently often to make pancake breakfasts for the family. And as like a family of 5, he needs to make a lot more pancakes. And making like 3 at a time on a griddle is a lot more efficient than making 1 at a time in a pan.
Counterpoint, out of these 3, I feel like the waffle maker is the best of them. Simply because if you're in that situation with your dad, way better to just fill up the waffle maker with batter, scoop them up. Because surface area wise, you're probably going to be using about the same to make pancakes here. And as we all know, waffles are just better. Don't lie to yourselves, people. Waffles are better than pancakes. I say that puts that ahead of these two. This list is somewhat in order.
Another thing you can do in a waffle maker, you can put like loose hash brown into the waffle maker.
Oh yeah, you can do that.
And make like hash brown patties.
I think out of these 3, the waffle maker is honestly the best. Because you can also use it as a panini press. Yeah, it might, you don't want to like put it all the way down.
But you could rest it.
But you could rest it and you'd get a similar effect to the panini press.
Yeah.
Now, this next one is something we've had for a long time.
One more comment I have on the waffle maker.
Yeah, waffle maker.
I had a waffle maker before I got divorced. I left that thing with my ex. So
it's his problem now.
Yeah.
Next up is a bread maker.
Bread maker.
Now, this wasn't originally on this list, but I added it because recently you have gotten into using your bread maker. And I, for a long time, was a bread maker doubter. But I gotta say, the bread that comes out of this thing is really tasty. But as the person who actually uses the bread maker, where does this go? I lean towards B or C.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not D. If you
actually use it.
If you're never gonna use it, then like, by definition. Yeah. But like, if you're using it even like a couple times a year, like the bread's really nice. It's hard for me to say because it's very simple to use.
It is brain dead easy.
It's brain dead easy to use. It cooks the bread. It kneads the bread. It rises the bread. It proofs the bread. It does everything automatically.
Yeah. It can even get the dough ready for you and not cook it if you want to do something with the dough.
There are options to make like pizza dough or biscuit dough or whatever you want, and it'll do that. But bread is also available at the store.
Yeah.
Bread is, I mean, it depends on kind of how inflation is at the time, but bread's not like super expensive at the store.
I'd say when you make bread, price-wise, it's not so much cheaper than the bread I buy at the store that it really like justifies it price-wise. I think it's purely just you want a nice quality fresh loaf of bread, or you need to make dough, but you don't want to like put that shit on your counter, make the counter a mess, and like, do the whole kneading and all that.
Yeah. Or like proofing is hard, and overproofing, underproofing is a struggle.
As the one who doesn't use it, I'm inclined to put it in C. But do you think that with your experience, it deserves to be in B?
I think we are a low bread consuming household. We
eat egg salad all the time.
Yeah, we use bread for like sandwiches like a couple times a week.
That's true.
Whereas there's some families will like go through a loaf of bread a day. And that's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
that's where the bread maker kind of gains more value, is when you can just like make a fresh loaf of bread in the morning, and then your three children have eaten it all up by the end.
yeah. Okay.
So
So do
for
you think that puts it into B?
for us, it's C.
For your
But
average family
I
who is okay with making bread in a bread maker?
I think for if the average family would also need someone who's like got the time to like make the bread every day. Otherwise, you just like buy three
Then
loaves of bread
then
at
I think
once.
C is the
I think
place for it.
yeah, I think bread maker bread is not a necessity. You can easily buy cheap bread at the store, and it's just like it's a luxury, I suppose.
Next up, a little bit of bias on this one. A grill.
Ooh, trash
Uh,
it.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
No,
whoa, whoa.
that's my bias.
If we were going purely on bias, yeah, trash it. I think a grill is a waste of space. Um, I personally think that even for meat eaters, a grill is okay, but you really don't need it. Unless like you're cooking most of your meals on the grill,
Mhm.
it's mostly just a thing you set in your backyard that slowly gets rusty over time that you use like literally once a year, maybe twice a year for like 4th of July
Yeah.
or like a summer like
I
barbecue.
think even for like heavy grill users, you're probably using it like once or twice a week. Like, maybe Saturday and Sunday you do
Yeah.
grilling. And that's during like
Yeah.
one season, maybe you stretch a little into spring and a little into fall. So
And
that's just like low usage rate.
personally, grill lovers are going to hate us. Just cook that shit on the stove or the in the oven.
Yeah.
Like I I've yet to eat anything from a grill, even back when I used to eat meat all the time, that tasted better than what I could just freaking make with this bad boy right here. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. You can also get a lot messier with the way you season it and stuff here.
Yeah.
Because the pan's there to catch it. Um, Next up is the sink,
Is this
which
just a sink, or is this like a deep basin sink?
here's what I'll say. I'll say this is a big, nice sink
Okay.
because I think we should assume everybody has a sink in
Yeah.
their house.
I don't think it's legally a house if you don't have a sink.
Yeah. I think quality of life wise, having a big sink is really, really nice. I don't think you need it, but I think that you should have it. Cause like I remember when we were house hunting,
Uh-huh.
the way I sold you on this house was I was like, I showed her a picture of the sink because she wasn't paying attention to it when we were going through. And she was like, that's a big sink. And that like got her on the train of we should bid on this house.
Mhm.
Strictly, you do not need a big sink. There are countries like Japan that have almost non-existent sinks and get by just fine. But it is a huge pain in the ass to work with a small sink. You don't have room to set down the other dishes that you're working on, forcing you to put them on the counter, but they might not always be counter friendly, or you may not have any counter space. I personally would rather have a little more sink room than a little more counter room because I can just put dirty stuff in
In
the
the sink.
sink.
Mhm.
This is a little biased, but I do think people deserve a big sink.
Where's the line between S tier and A tier? Because like, everything you just described is like huge quality of life upgrade.
Oh, so you're saying big sink is meta?
I'm just saying like what's the difference, I suppose. Like,
Well, it'll be skipping ahead a little bit,
uh-huh.
but
Yeah, I mean
but
I saw the bidet. The
bidet
bidet
is
is
S
meta.
tier meta. If you don't have a bidet, this tier list isn't for you. If you have ever considered getting a bidet, go get it right now. It is the best thing you can do. In fact, it's top of S
It
tier.
is.
Nothing has made my life better than getting a bidet. The bidet is like taking a shower every time you poop. Instead of wasting tons of toilet paper every year, you can just get a bunch of white cloths, dry your butt off. Very rarely will there be any poopy on that cloth. And then, even if it does get a little dirty, you just throw all of it into the washer with some bleach, and they're fresh and new. Perfectly sanitized, perfectly safe. It takes us almost a year and a half to get through like a Costco pack of toilet paper. That is how little toilet paper we need thanks to the bidet.
I have a placement question. And don't
Okay.
get mad at me.
I will get mad at you.
Okay, so I see that you have placed the bidet higher than the fridge.
I would rather have a bidet than a fridge.
So we recently had our fridge break.
Uh-huh.
Would you keep the bidet in exchange for the fridge breaks down at random intervals?
So here's the thing. Our fridge recently breaking actually got me thinking.
Yeah.
Because, we had to scramble to figure out what can be unrefrigerated. What do we have to go run and get ice for and throw it in a cooler, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. And I was really thinking about it. And I was like, if we didn't have a fridge, as vegetarians, I think we could manage. Only because we're vegetarians.
Mm-hmm.
If we were meat eaters, you can't live without a fridge. I think for 99% of Americans, I'm not going to talk about other countries because that gets dicey and kind of my
You don't want to accidentally
yeah, I don't want to step on any toes. Because there are definitely cultures that get away with it, have to get away with it. It is what it is. But for your average American household, you probably need a fridge. But there's a lot of foods that we could make that I could just leave sitting on our counter, cut it up, throw it in a pot, make a soup, make a bake, etc., etc. We potatoes, carrots, celery. There's a lot of veggies that can just be left out.
We would essentially be buying in small batches.
Yeah.
And
I'd be going to the store more often. But
you wouldn't be able to make anything that generated leftovers.
Yeah. Now, I am being a little hyperbolic when I say the fridge is less useful than the bidet, but the bidet makes me feel this way.
Yeah. Because if I were to say, if you don't throw your bidet in the garbage within the next 24 hours, the fridge will be cursed and it will break down at random intervals you will not know when. I think you would relent.
Yeah. I think realistically, I'd put the bidet right here. Just because you kind of need these. If a better way you could have convinced me is to say okay, imagine you don't have an oven / stove. Then I'd be like, okay, Jocelyn, you're speaking some real reason. As much as I want my clean butt, I do kind of need these too.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna reorder these because, like I said, I could get by better with this, missing this, than I could get by with this missing this. Because then I'd have to use the fucking microwave, the piece of shit.
Well, that's the thing though. The oven, while it's the best cooking appliance, it can be replaced with the microwave, with the toaster, with the toaster oven, with the air fryer.
That's true. Okay, fridge remains uncontested.
Which is why I'm okay with putting the bidet above the oven, and that's why I didn't use the oven as the example for you.
Yeah, maybe if the oven could spray water up my butthole, it'd be different. Yeah. Here's one that could be a little contentious.
I'm not 100% sold on sink being S tier though. I was just kind of figuring out where is the line between.
So we were on a
S-tier?
tangent. I personally think the sink is A, because this is something that is a nice quality of life, but it's not going to completely change your world. Okay. Having a bidet changes your life.
Okay.
It is it's like a 200% value add having it.
Yeah. I suppose like the fridge breaking down changed our life.
Yeah, our oven breaking down would also change our life.
Yeah. Whereas the sink, like losing 3 inches in depth wouldn't change our life. It would
Yeah.
just be annoying.
Yeah. I think that people deserve a nice big sink, but you don't need a nice big sink. That's why originally I was putting in A.
Yeah, that's fair.
If
That's like I was genuinely asking kind of like
if
what's the
if you want
qualifier?
another example of like an S tier meta thing, also skipping ahead, Roomba. I for before getting a Roomba, I was like, I don't get it. Like, what's so great about a Roomba? Um, we have furnished our house around our Roomba as well, which makes it extra nice.
Let's not normalize calling the robot
Oh,
vacuum
that's
by
true.
the
The
inferior
the
brand's
robot
name.
vacuum. We use Roborock, which is the superior robot vacuum brand, but we will just call it robot vacuum for now. This is specifically here. I'll even narrow it. This is a LiDAR robot vacuum. If your robot vacuum does not have LiDAR, you throw that shit in the trash. It's useless. It's just going to scuff up your house. It's not going to do a good job. It's going to get lost all the time. But if you have a LiDAR Roomba, knowing
Robot
that
vacuum. We hate
robot
Roombas.
vacuum, robot vacuum,
We
robot
hate
vacuum.
Roombas in this house.
We literally hate Roombas. We got a Roomba at one point and had to return it because it does not have LiDAR and it was fucking stupid. It kept thinking there were no walls where there were absolutely walls. It could not find itself out of an empty room. The room is just an extra room. We were going to turn into a spare room at some point. It went in there to map it. It could not find its way out of that room. It was just completely brain dead. But LiDAR robot vacuums,
they slap.
They slap. Like knowing that every night my robot vacuum is going to sweep my kitchen and get all the crumbs off the floor is such a relief because I'm not going to be walking around for the rest of the day. Like, you know, the following day and the time before it going like, oh, I've got crumbs stuck in my socks. It's going to remove a lot of dust that just builds up on the floor because we have it sweep once a week. If you have pets, you'd probably want to do that more than once a week, but it's super convenient. It has completely changed our lives. I don't need to vacuum nearly as much as I used to. Not to say that you shouldn't have a vacuum because there are situations.
Yeah.
There are situations. But the Roomba's a life changer. Like I cannot state enough that if you can afford a robot vacuum with LiDAR, and your house isn't super cluttered, you should have it. You should have the robot vacuum with LiDAR. It is a meta household appliance.
Yeah.
Now, a contentious one that we often argue about in this household, dishwasher. Me, someone who does not like the dishwasher. I think it smells bad. Think
the beans smell bad.
Yeah. But I personally think it's a useful and nice to have, but I would rather have a sink over a dishwasher any day. My wife would probably argue that it's an A.
Okay, so here's the thing. Out of the two of us, one of us does dishes.
Hey, I do dishes, just not to the same extent that you do dishes. I do the cooking, and she does the dishes. I do some of my dishes while I cook, but I do not do all of them. Obviously, the plates we eat off of, you know, she handles that. But I clean our knives. Anything that needs to like be cleaned immediately after use, I clean it as I'm cooking. The dishwasher is primarily for our plates, you know, spoons, forks, stuff like that. We don't put knives in the dishwasher because we're not idiots.
We don't put pots in the dishwasher.
But I am a hard believer of I can do all the dishes by hand in the sink if need be, mostly because we spent like 6 years of our lives having to do that because we were in San Francisco for a long time.
So here's my thoughts. Living in San Francisco with a shallow sink and no dishwasher was a nightmare for doing dishes.
True.
If a deep sink is a game changer, so is a dishwasher.
And here's the thing. Counterpoint.
Uh-huh.
You're my wife.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yes.
And I'm willing to concede this because I'm a man and I can change if I have to, I guess.
So you're just putting it there because you want to make me happy, not because
I'm
that was
putting
some
it
good
there.
logic?
I'm putting it there because my default position is that 99% of the time you are smarter than me.
Mm-hmm.
You are right more often than me. And if you are passionate about something, I should just concede. And it's a B to A. I'm willing to let that go. I'm willing to let that go.
I just want to know if like you were swayed by my logic of if the sink's a game changer.
I understand your logic, but I don't like the smell of a dishwasher.
You don't have to.
So that emotion overrides your logic in my mind.
I can't believe men are so emotional all the time. Why do we let men do anything? They just get so emotional.
Tangent here a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Men always complain that women are ruled by their emotions. I 100% disagree. As a man, we are like 95% vibe and emotion-based creatures. We do not use our brains to make a lot of decisions. That's why I think women are more qualified to be our bosses. I think we would be happier if women bossed us around, honestly. Because I want nothing more than my wife to tell me, hey, Austin, could you do this? And I will happily be like, sure. I like it when she tells me to do things because half the time, even though I know I should do a thing, I'll forget that thing exists. And she'll be like, oh, hey, Austin, you wanted to do this thing today. And I'll be like, thank you. I totally forgot that existed because I don't have object permanence.
Is that why every time I ask you, what is this thing on the to-do list? I don't understand. You do it the next day?
I often do it day of, if you remind me. Unless it's something I have to go out and get.
I usually ask you like in the evening.
Yeah.
So that's what I've noticed.
Yeah. By the way, a to-do list isn't an appliance on this list.
Whiteboard.
Because I didn't think about it. But whiteboard, that's an S tier meta thing. I was not using a whiteboard for a long time. We had like a small like grocery whiteboard, but like it didn't really factor in too much. It was just kind of a way of being like, oh hey, when we get the chance, pick this up from the store.
Like I used the last of this thing. Let me write it down so we don't forget it.
But a to-do list whiteboard, specifically a to-do list whiteboard, is an S tier thing. Just having that around and put it somewhere you're gonna walk by often, like on the fridge, next to the fridge, somewhere you are going to look every day. That thing will remind you, and you will get shit done. Especially if you're a man. Men, I know we don't like to admit that we're big dum-dums, that we're inept idiots. But hey, we just need to accept the fact that we're not the greatest at doing things all the time. If we need to lift things, we're good. We're good. I mean, I think we were built to lift things. We weren't built to think things. We were built to lift things. Okay, moving on. This is a humidifier.
Yeah.
I bust this thing out a couple times during the year. I wouldn't put it in D because this actually does have a very valid use.
Mm-hmm.
I would only put it in C at highest though. Because this is really useful for that time of the year where the air is just like dry as hell.
Yeah.
Especially at nighttime. For my wife, she gets dried out really easily. I think this is, if you are in an area of the world where it gets really dry, you should have this for the time of year when it starts getting really dry. Otherwise, you're going to wake up and your lips are going to be chapped as hell. Here in Texas, there are periods of the summer where, for some reason, even though it's supposed to be a really humid state, it'll be really dry around here for like no reason.
It's really dry inside because you're running the AC
Oh,
24/7.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, we don't run the AC
Yeah.
24/7, but most people around here do. Um, so I think it's okay, but I don't think everybody needs this. I think that in areas of the world where people aren't constantly running the AC, like down here in the South, like your air is going to be a little bit more like even. You
Mhm.
know, it's going to have a more reasonable amount of humidity. You'd probably only need this maybe in like the coldest times during winter. But even then, chapstick will usually get you through it, you know?
Mhm.
And on that note, a dehumidifier. Personally, I don't know why the hell this thing fucking exists. I don't know why you would ever want to take humidity out of the air unless you were living in like Florida, maybe.
I think. Excuse me. A dehumidifier is made for like homes that live in places like Florida or maybe like,
The
more
jungle,
tropical areas that like are maybe older homes that don't have AC built
central
in.
air and conditioning.
And so like, when the inside of your house is just like a swamp, you need the dehumidifier to
You
kind of
know,
take
here's
that
what
out.
I'll say.
Like think about how
If
our
you're in
house felt.
Florida, meta.
Yeah. Think about how our house felt when the AC was out.
I'll put it here with the humidifier.
Yeah.
Because
Like
I think both of them are very much like, if you need it, you need it. If you don't, you
yeah, they serve their purpose.
don't.
I've never needed a dehumidifier.
Standard like desk fan. I'll also call this like a box fan or like
Or like a standing fan.
a standing fan. This is just all like bespoke fans.
Mhm.
I personally, this really depends on how good your central air and heating are. Uh these can be really nice if you just don't have a better option. Um I am inclined to put them in B actually.
I hate these things.
I do too. But I think for your average American, it's useful to have one of these. Like we don't use it often, but I do have a desk fan for like when things are really bad.
Yeah.
I haven't needed it since our old AC went out and we had to replace it. We sprung for just like like slightly more expensive system that like
a 2-stage heat pump.
yeah,
So
a 2-stage
speaking
heat
of
pump.
is a 2-stage heat pump on this list?
So I
'Cause
tried
that's
to
meta.
I tried to keep it for indoor things. I only made one exception.
Okay.
And it'll make sense when we get to it, but uh I if if you're looking into heat pumps, just pay the extra for the 2-stage. You don't need like the most fancy tier of heat pumps, but a 2-stage heat pump is like meta tier versus like useful tier.
Yeah,
Like 1-stage heat pumps freaking suck, man.
well,
It's
one
it's
stage
it's
is
just
like
full blast or nothing.
yeah, and that's how a lot of AC is. Like a lot of AC is one
Yeah.
stage. It's on or off.
Heck, I think your traditional AC should be 2-stage. I think the idea of just being on or off is kind of idiotic in terms of design.
Mhm.
Like I get that America is behind the times. That's why we don't have bidets in every single household.
Yeah.
But like a 1-stage system for AC or heat pump, if
It blows.
it literally blows. It is worth paying the extra like $1,000, $2,000 to upgrade from a 1-stage system. Um, Ceiling fans, I kind of put them in the same thing. I think they're a little bit better
I think
than these.
I would put the standing fans down and keep ceiling fans useful because ceiling fans aren't taking up space. They can have lights in them, so you're combining two fixtures into one, And like the standing fans, they get really dusty and
They
gross.
do get really dusty. Ceiling fans
And
are. You know what? Now that you bring up dust, I think that this honestly I kind of want to put it in trash because
yeah,
I've
I
thought
do
about
too.
how dusty these things get. You know what? Yeah. These are
Like,
trash. They get so fucking dusty. I didn't even think about it from a dust perspective.
yeah, they're dust magnets.
And they just blow dust
Yeah,
at you.
they blow dust at you, and all they do is they blow like the same air around. Like ceiling fans, the way they're
They
designed,
circulate. They
they
suck up the dust and the bad air and they push down cleaner air.
yeah, they push the air like
They pull up hot air, they push down cold air.
yeah. And in the winter, you can actually reverse them so that
Oh, they'll heat.
they
Yeah,
can
I forgot
they
about
can
that.
pull up cold air and push some hot air down so that like after you've run your oven and the hot air is trapped in your ceiling, it can be like, oh, I got you, homie, let's push some of that warm air down.
This one is like an in the window AC unit.
Okay.
I'd say I kind of feel about this the same way I feel about these two. You should only use this if it is all you have access to.
Yeah. Like when we lived in Stevens.
They're inefficient for cooling your house. They use way more electricity. You should only be using this if you live in an apartment or like an older like trailer home kind of thing. I
It's
guess
something that
I
like
guess if you like travel in an RV, something like this is pretty useful.
yeah,
But
but like if you don't have central air and that's all you have, then like fine,
yeah,
but it sucks.
same thing with the space heater. Honestly, I would I would put space heater in trash just because these things are like dangerous.
Yeah.
People set fires with these all the time, but I do know that some people genuinely need these to heat their homes. For the same reasons they might need like a box AC unit like this. So I'm not going to put it in trash, but I genuinely think these are dangerous and you should find alternatives to this. I would rather just bundle up than use a space heater. Um, this one is polarizing. Bathtub. I think a bathtub is trash. I think that bathtubs just collect dust. I think at best, your average person is going to use this like a couple times a year unless they're really big bath people.
Yeah.
Like I get my bath bombs. I like a romantic night by myself away from my husband where I can just relax in my big old bath.
Like a glass of wine
Yeah.
and a book and a bubble bath.
These
Like
these are only for those people. The only uh other use for a bathtub is if you have like a kid, they're babies, you need to clean them. I get it.
or a
But
pet.
or a pet, yeah. But for situations like that, I think your classic shower bathtub combo
Mhm.
is significantly more practical than the big bubble bath.
Yeah, like standalone tubs. Yeah, now if you are counting that like shower head as like a shower bathtub combo,
Yeah, this can be a standalone shower or a shower bathtub combo.
then trash the bath.
Trash the bath? Okay, cool.
Because if you have a tub shower combo, that's all you need for like bathing
Well,
kids and pets.
some people like these really like nice big bathtubs that you can spend your entire day in, eat your
Yeah.
pizza and subsequently drop it into.
Yeah, some people love their standing fans. I don't care. Trash it.
That's true. That's true. A PC, I think that this is a life-changing thing to have. If you I'll say this is also a laptop. Like a PC and or laptop because I know that a lot of
Would you
people
consider an iPad also bundled into that?
if you have like one of those iPads that it is used to the extent that you use a laptop, you know, browsing the internet,
Mhm.
Word docs, Excel docs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would bundle a tablet into that. It's just everybody in this day and age, you have to have a computing device that isn't just your phone.
Yeah, like an internet access computing device that is just like a little bit more powerful than yours.
Yeah. Like phones are great, everybody uses their phone every day. I I don't think that a phone is a household appliance. I think a phone is literally just a cybernetic augment that all humans at this point in time pretty much have to own. It is like a tier 0
Yeah.
like prerequisite for being a human in our modern age. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we're so reliant on our phones. I've done a lot to kind of like, cripple my phone so that it can't be the attention sucking device that it is. But it is something that unfortunately everybody has to have. But a PC, a tablet with keyboard, a laptop are genuine upgrades to your life. They change the way that you interface with the world around you, not just in your home. Um they for some reason only put washer, but I'm going to call this washer dryer.
Okay.
Personally, just washer I'd say is something everyone needs to have. Even people in Japan try and have washers.
Hmm.
Together, I think they are a you should have this. Washing machine by itself. How about this? Washing machine, you have to have this.
Uh huh.
You can dry your clothes on a clothesline. Dryers, I would put in A,
Uh huh.
but a washing machine, you need a washing machine.
Yeah.
I've tried going without a washing machine. Like back when we lived in San Francisco, we had like a laundromat that we'd go to. It freaking sucks. Lugging your clothes across the street to a laundromat is miserable. It costs way more money. And what it leads to is you ending up with a giant freaking pile of clothes that you put off washing until you actually have to go wash because you want to fit as many clothes into that laundromat as possible.
Hmm.
So just having an in apartment washer is a game changer.
Yeah.
I will gladly get a drying rack to dry those clothes. Um, Dryer to a lesser extent is a great. Dryers are great, but you don't
They're
need
not
them.
as necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I went from a like my college living space where I had no in apartment washer dryer, and I have several different apartments and different distances needed to lug the clothes. I hated doing it all the time.
Mhm.
Going then to like my first post college apartment with a washer dryer inside, I promised myself I would never ever live in a place that did not have a washer dryer in unit again.
And
And
you can guess who was doing the laundry in San
in
Francisco.
San Francisco, there really wasn't another choice.
There wasn't another
It was like
choice.
pay $3,000 a month and have a washer
Washer
dryer,
dryer
or
that
pay
were super tiny
yeah, or like pay $2,000 a month
and not
and
have a
not have
washer
it.
dryer.
Yeah,
But I did all the laundry there, so technically Jocelyn never had to live that life again.
I did do
But
laundry on some occasions, but you were
it
doing the
it, it,
vast
it
majority
was
of it.
only when there was like something in particular you needed washed
Yeah.
usually. Um, and even now that we have a washer and dryer, we actually do hang dry a a decent amount of our clothing. Because once you get to a certain point in your life, it's better to invest in clothing that will last rather than clothing that is just cheap.
Yeah.
So, like for example, our underwear,
Yeah.
we spend a little extra on our underwear, but the trade off to that is you have to hang dry them because the dryer will like ruin them.
Yeah, it's mostly undergarments, but like some like sweaters and
Yeah,
other
some
things
sweaters
that
and
would
things.
get mangled by the dryer.
It's just kind of like a transitionary thing in life. I
Yeah.
don't think that when you're young you need to be wasting money on like nicer clothes. But like once you've hit your 30s, like you should be buying a couple pieces of clothing that like aren't going to fall apart
Yeah.
after you've worn them for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, like invest in some clothes that'll last you at least like the next decade.
Yeah. Especially shoes. Like buying a pair of shoes that aren't going to fall apart in a couple months is just life changing. Like, I remember when we lived in San Francisco, I did walk around a lot, just to be fair, but I was going through like a pair of shoes every month because I just kept buying the cheap, like $20, $30 pairs of shoes. And then eventually I was like, you know what? This is stupid. I just dropped $100 on like a nice pair of leather shoes, and I'm still using those shoes like 8 years later. It it was a huge quality of life bonus. It is worth it to invest in yourself when you know you're not going to be like selling everything and moving across the country constantly.
You know what they say? Invest in the things that separate your body from the ground. Shoes,
It's
chairs,
true.
couches,
Beds.
beds,
Yeah.
even socks.
Now we discussed phones.
Uh-huh.
That was specifically the cell phone, which
This
is
is
not on this tier list. This is a home phone.
a landline.
Throw that shit in the garbage. You do not need it.
There is exactly one benefit to a landline.
And it's that spam calls will go to it and hopefully not your cell phone.
No, because the spam calls are
They'll still go to your cell phone.
No, that's not what it is at all.
Oh.
A like non-electric or like non like fancy landline, something that just kind of like plugs into the phone line and then works, is a good phone in an emergency.
Here's the thing though.
But
you have to pay for that shit.
The downsides outweigh the benefits.
Yeah.
Because you do have to pay for it, and it's going to get a bunch of spam calls constantly.
Yeah. It's going to get a bunch of spam calls constantly.
And you can't have something that's reliant on the internet or electricity because that's going to go down when the power's out.
Yeah.
You have to have like an ancient phone.
Yeah, you have to have like an ancient grandma phone. Unless you are in fact an ancient grandma who just still has one of these, there's no reason to have it.
Don't get a new one.
Don't get a new one. Well, I guess if you're like in an office, landlines make sense.
Yeah, but this is
that's not you. That's not you. You don't need one of these at your home. But I'm just stating there is one other use case for it. But an ironing board, these are useful, but I do think that they can't be any higher than C, but I'm inclined to put them in D. I really only ever need these when like there's like a dinner or something where it's just like, oh, the shirts I like to wear to these got a little, like curled at the edges last time I went to the last event and then I washed it. But there are alternative ways for you to iron things without an ironing board. I do think they are useful, but they're kind of a waste of space.
Yeah, ironing boards take up a ton of space.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, I don't remember, and maybe this is just kind of like the social class I'm in, but I don't remember the last time I like looked at someone and noticed like a wrinkle or a curled edge.
Like
even in like a classy situation, I don't pay attention.
I have some shirts that I wear when I want to dress up a little bit that, have a little bit of curling in some spots. And every time I wear them, I'm like, shirt still looks great. So Jocelyn always tells me I look cute when I wear them anyways. Yeah. So it's just like, clearly it's not an issue.
Yeah, you do look cute.
I think that maybe people just don't need to be so concerned about that press thing.
Yeah, we're not in an era of like fresh pressed clothing all the time.
Same thing with the iron. I think irons are really useful. If anything, I'd say it's more useful than the ironing board. Because you can set up an alternative to the ironing board with just shit around your house. Can't really make an alternative for an iron.
Yeah.
Especially if they've got like that steaming function.
It steams pretty good.
It's really satisfying to use the steaming things. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna leave it in C. Yeah. You don't need this, but it's okay to have.
Also, ironing as a chore is actually kind of relaxing.
It is relaxing. I don't get to do it hardly ever for the reasons we just stated. But like the times I have used it, I've been like, this is really nice, and it really opens up your nasal passages. Yeah, if you're feeling congested, it's really nice. Okay, so the stuff we've talked about mostly till now is mostly kitchen stuff. it's just who cares about him? Is mostly kitchen stuff. We've kind of got sidetracked a little bit here and there. This is mostly just like kitchen, some general house stuff. This
Kitchen and
is
bath, essentially.
this is gonna be a little bit more miscellaneous. I've got a curling iron, a flat iron, and a hair dryer.
Okay.
I will start with the hair dryer. I think a hair dryer is nice to have.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to dry your hair, but you don't have the time to like
To let it air dry.
let it air dry.
Also, like some hairstyles, you can't let air dry.
Yeah. The flat iron and the curling iron though, I think these are okay, but you don't need them unless you just really care too much about your appearance. Or like the occasional like, oh, I'm going to something nice, like I'll curl my hair today, I'll straighten my hair.
So,
And I will say, I will admit some of my dark history.
yeah.
When I was a teenager, I was a long-haired boy. I straightened my hair every day. And as soon as I stopped doing that shit, I was like, thank heavens I'm not doing that anymore. It is so annoying. Like when my hair started going wavy because I was no longer straightening it, I was like, there was nothing wrong with this. I should have just let my hair be wavy. It looks like equally as bad as it was when I was straightening it.
Yeah, I'd say the flat iron is kind of like a relic of the past. Like when we were growing up, like the flat straight
It was just
hair
in style.
was like, yeah, it was in style, but I saw someone on, I don't know if it was like a YouTube video or something recently, but I could like tell she had flat ironed her hair.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's very
it
clear
looks
when
wrong.
people do it now.
Yeah. So I would put like, if we're still ordering within tier, I would put flat iron below curling iron because at least
because curling iron sometimes has uses.
Yeah, you can like use the curling iron to make your hair wavy or curly. I remember in drama club we had to curl our hair for basically any role because our costume director essentially said like, ringlets are bouncy. They give you like the illusion of extra movement. So she wanted everyone to have ringlet curls if they had long hair. So they would like bounce on stage because you need that extra oomph on stage.
Something that I would prefer
Yeah.
to the curling iron is it's very old fashioned.
Oh, curlers?
The actual curlers that you roll up in your hair. Because over the years, I've gotten a lot of compliments on my hair. It's not long anymore. But I do take care of my hair. Not like to the extent where I'm like curling it, straightening it, or any of that stuff. But like, I shampoo, I condition, I make sure that it dries in a way that I like it to. And I have learned that if you want your hair to look a certain way, the most important thing that you need to be doing is paying attention to how you let it dry. So if you want curly hair that looks a little bit more natural, using those rollers will really help because like they'll force your hair to dry in that position.
Yeah, the other thing about it is that
it doesn't damage your hair like the curling iron does.
The heat treatment, it does damage your hair.
Yeah.
It's not great. So like, yeah, I remember when
I've also burned myself with this, not this, but like I've burned myself with both of these over the years.
I'm not a bad burn, but I have been like, ooh, ouch!
I've got like a scar on my neck.
Well, with the blow dryer is what.
With the blow dryer, really?
Because like if you accidentally touch the grill when it's so hot,
it does get pretty hot. Yeah.
But the blow dryer, it's not as damaging to your hair, especially since there's usually like low settings. But like the curling iron, not super great for your hair. But when I was a kid, we had like sponge roller curlers.
Yeah.
And those were like really nice.
Yeah, they're really nice and convenient.
It sucks to sleep in them if you have to like. Maybe that's not where my stomach sleeping came from. I didn't use them that often, but yeah, they work well, and it looks a little bit more natural, like ringlet curled hair with a curling iron. Like you can tell it's curling iron. But like I don't fault anyone for like wanting to style their hair a certain way, be that straight or curly or whatever. But just be careful with keep taking care of it.
Okay. Next up is this is a picture of a desk lamp. I would kind of just broaden this to lamps in
To
general,
all
like
lamps.
standalone, not attached to anything lamps.
Okay. Standing lamps.
I personally feel these are like a desk lamp is like useful from time to time,
Mhm.
but for the most part, I feel like standing lamps, like standalone lamps, are kind of a relic of the past.
It really depends on what the light design of your house is. If,
Yeah.
like, for
I guess if
example,
you live in like the basement, it's a lot more useful.
well, think about our house's light design. The living room has no lights in it.
But
It
our windows are goaded.
we are dark dwellers. But, if we were people who like if we were like throwing a party, entertaining in the evening,
Like for mood lighting.
we would need lamps to like just make it not dark. Like imagine we had Narati over at our house right now. It would be pitch black in the living room.
I'm sure she'd appreciate it.
No, I don't think
No,
so.
it is pretty damn bright whenever we go
So
over there. I see what you're saying.
like some homes are set up so that you don't need a lamp, but like the light design of many homes is such that you have to have a lamp.
So, do you think for those homes that's enough for us to statically put it in A tier, or do you think B tier is appropriate?
I think B tier is appropriate simply because like it's not necessary for everyone, and also some people such as us don't
I'll keep it
like.
next to the ceiling fan since
Okay,
oftentimes your ceiling fan will have a lamp in it.
yeah, that's fair.
Okay, next up is this is just a
TV,
TV, but I'm going to say because everybody's got a TV, even if they're not using it for like cable,
yeah.
but everybody's got a TV. I'm going to say that this is a big, nice TV, not just a TV. This is like a TV that you've treated yourself to.
Like the big screen.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's a B because we have like a bigger TV in the living room, but it's not like the biggest TV you could
It's
possibly get.
it's not the biggest out there, but
Yeah.
it's like in the top quartile, I think, of TV
Yeah,
sizes.
it's like
It's probably like
not
bottom.
the
It's probably like bottom of the top quartile, like
yeah.
at that 25% mark.
Yeah. Like it's bigger than your average TV for sure. But like I appreciate it. I think it allows you to like well, I wouldn't even say it allows you to put your couch further back. I say it almost forces you to put your couch farther back.
Hmm.
Because like with a big TV, you can't be too close to it
Yeah,
because then it's kind of like overwhelming.
yeah.
Um but like I think that like your average TV for most cases is like good enough. Um
Do
if
you
you have like a bigger TV, it should only be in the living room.
do you want to speak less about TV size and more about smart TV?
Smart TVs fucking suck. I wish that we could just go back to the days where our TVs were just TVs and then we would plug like some sort of device into the TV to make them do smart things. I don't like that the smart stuff is built into the TVs. It is absolutely frustrating because like for example, if anybody has like an Amazon like what are they called? Fire TV? Yeah,
Yeah.
Fire TV is what they're called or a Fire Stick. Recently, they made it so that every time you turn that thing on, it will immediately start playing really loud ads. And if it doesn't start immediately playing those loud ads, the only reason it doesn't do it is because it's having so much trouble loading those crappy ads that it's making it hard for your TV to turn on. Uh
Well,
if
plugging a smart device into the TV doesn't solve for that because
It-
I have the Fire Stick plugged
Here-
into my office TV and it does the same
here's
thing.
the thing. I don't want my TV to be the smart side of it because say I want to play my Switch, another gaming console, Blu-ray, DVD player, something like that.
Mhm.
I would like that to just directly connect to a TV that turns on and off and just has like some settings for
Yeah.
like brightness, contrast, all
So
that.
you want to go back to the days where TVs were just monitors.
Yes, I want just a big monitor. I don't want them to be smart Because,
So do you want to rank this based on smartness or on size?
let's do smartness. We'll do smartness. I know that there's nothing we can do about it. Though they don't make dumb TVs anymore.
Yeah.
Every TV is smart.
How do you feel about the living room Google TV? Because like most of your
Android.
grievances with the Amazon TV.
I mean, I have grievances with the Android TV in sort of like a future perspective.
Yeah.
Like if something goes wrong with our TV, it's not going to become useless because the TV stopped working. It's going to become useless because there's going to be some stupid software update
Yeah.
that just is way after our model that's just going to make us have to buy a new TV at some point. That's why I don't like smart TVs.
Mhm.
If like for
They-
example,
they can nuke your TV on
the TV that you have in your office that
Mm-hmm.
we've plugged a Fire Stick into is a dumb TV back from when I was in middle school.
middle school.
I've had that TV since middle school. It still works.
Yeah.
Is it as nice as some of the modern TVs? No. But it's not as nice. It's not lesser than the modern TVs because of the smart devices connected to that TV. It's only less nice than modern TVs because modern TVs have just like mechanically advanced farther.
Yeah, like that TV is probably less energy efficient than modern
Yes.
TVs. The like resolution is probably lower,
Yes.
but like it
If-
still works.
If
It doesn't
I
stop.
if I could start a business that sold something, I honestly think that there is a market for dumb TVs.
Yeah. Dumb phones are making a resurgence.
Yeah, dumb phones are making a resurgence. Granted, I think we personally don't need dumb phones because we have good self-control.
Yeah.
The only frustrating thing with a smartphone is that like the same thing that can happen to a smart TV can happen to a smartphone, but like that tends to happen slower with a smartphone, especially with like the Google Pixels where they promise like, hey,
Yeah.
we'll guarantee X amount of years where we will actually give you your phone software updates that are for your phone
Mhm.
and not just Pixels in general.
Yeah. Well, for Pixels they do that. I feel like for iPhones they're kind of designed to
Oh,
become obsolete
iPhones
in,
are
like, 3
designed to be
years.
obsolete within a couple years. I know that funny enough, iPods still work very well.
Yeah.
I can plug in my iPod and like it's hard to use because iTunes has kind of become sort of depreciated to not work with iPods anymore. But like the actual mechanical iPod itself, like still works amazingly. But we're not here to talk about Apple. I'd say it's I think smart TVs are like useful, nice to have, but honestly, I find myself wanting. I would rather have a dumb TV.
So what you're saying is it's useful and nice to be able to just pull up YouTube's. To
Yes,
pull up
it's
Crunchyroll,
convenient,
to
yes.
to like Steam Link,
Well,
but you have grievances on the side,
on the smart side.
which kind of
Like,
caps where it
Let
can be.
me put this in perspective.
Yeah.
We have a smart TV in our living room.
Yeah.
Connected to that smart TV is my Switch.
Uh-huh.
The PS2 is not currently equipped to it, but a PS2 could be, a Wii U could be. But we also have a Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
Do you know what's on that Blu-ray player?
The Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers.
No. Well, yes, the disc was in the Blu-ray player. That Blu-ray player has all of the same smart features that are forced into our TV. We could just have a Blu-ray player that lets you watch YouTube through the Blu-ray player
That's true.
instead of the TV itself. That's why I'm saying we don't need smart TVs.
Also, like if you had like an Xbox or a PS5, they also have.
They
all
also
those.
have YouTube, freaking web browsers,
YouTube,
Netflix,
Crunchyroll, whatever.
like a modern day gaming console can fulfill all of the same needs as a smart TV.
You know what?
If I could just find a big ass monitor that's the same size as our TV, I would rather just have a big monitor that I hook stuff up to.
You know what else is hooked up to that TV?
What?
I mean, it's not like currently plugged in, but that HDMI cable that hooks up to the laptop that we keep next to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
TV.
yeah. You can also just hook up a laptop to a dumb TV. But I know that one day our TV is going to break down because of some stupid software update
Yeah.
when we could have easily just plugged our laptop or our Blu-ray player or something into it and just kept doing it.
Yeah.
If it ever goes out, I will probably look up a way to like
keep using
jailbreak it
Yeah.
essentially, because there's no reason our TV should go bad. It's a good TV. It just has technology in it that could potentially make it not smart anymore. Okay.
The companies that own it could decide to break it.
Yeah. Okay. This one's a little bit of a twofer.
Okay.
So, vacuum, if you don't have, even if you have a Roomba, I think you probably should have
Yeah.
a traditional vacuum. It will get deeper than a Roomba,
Yes.
but I think not the Roomba, the robot vacuum with LiDAR gives you a baseline of clean where if you don't feel like sweeping that often, if you're a little lazy about sweeping, the robot vacuum with LiDAR will cover you and allow you to sweep less. I'd say I bust this guy out maybe like once a month just to get like a deep clean on very particular parts of the house.
We also use it to sweep up hair after haircuts.
Yeah, we cut our own hair in this household, so it's really nice. Now, this before I got one of these, I was just like, I don't get a shop vac.
Yeah, you would have put it at maybe like C or B.
Shop vac, ever since I've been using one, it's like it's not as useful as the Roomba because this is something you only get out like a couple times a month. But like its ability to like clean up cobwebs and other things that you don't really want your nice vacuums to get dirty with is amazing.
The wand's just easier to use than the nice vacuum wand.
The wand's really good for getting into like nooks and crannies that like normal vacuums and the robot vacuums can't get into. Also, it can be used for like heavy duty like heavier particulates.
Yeah.
Like if you need to sweep up wood chips, if you need to sweep up like dirt, like actual dirt, not just like, like a little bit of dirt that got in while like on your shoes or something. Like this is a very versatile vacuum that's meant for like cleaning areas that get actually dirty. And like you'd be surprised how often you can use it in the house. It's great for cleaning windowsills. I even use I have a particular head that I've started using for cleaning surfaces because it's just really good for cleaning like tables and desks and stuff. Obviously, you wouldn't want to use the same attachment for like the ground, but if you have like one attachment that's just dedicated to only be used on surfaces, it is a game changer. Like
I'll have to like one day when work is slow, like clean off my desk.
Yeah, it was like, so convenient. It was so convenient to just like clear off my desk. It also changed my perspective on how clean I keep my desk with clutter. Because I was like, oh, I need to be better about doing clutter because I can get rid of the dust on this desk so much quicker if I just minimize my clutter.
No more piles of cards?
Yeah, like, well, yeah. I specifically stopped leaving piles of cards. I play Magic the Gathering. I specifically stopped leaving piles of cards here. And it has also kind of made me resent Magic the Gathering because it made me realize like, oh, all of this bulk and extra cards that I have is just a pain in the ass. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with this. But like, every few months I've got to dig through it because I'm like, oh, this card would go really well with this thing. But the shop vac, I'd say even if you live in an apartment, if you have the choice between a traditional vacuum and a shop vac, get a shop vac. Shop vac is way more useful and lighter and easier to store away than a traditional vacuum. I don't think you really should be getting a traditional vacuum until you're like a homeowner or you have like thick carpet. Like a shop vac with like one of the, kind of like vacuum attachments like this will do you perfectly fine. They're cheaper than these kinds of vacuums. You're comfortable with them getting dirty because they are cheaper. And some of these shop vacs can even suck up water.
Yeah.
I personally would not use mine for that unless something got flooded, which I don't think will happen here. But I
never
have the
know.
option. I have the option. Just make sure you take the bag out of it if you're gonna if you're gonna suck up water.
I mean,
That will cause trouble.
There was that big freeze several years ago, like right before we moved to
Oh
Texas.
yeah, and like
so,
pipes busted and stuff.
Pipes could burst and freeze, and like just because
Yeah.
like things happen.
Now this is one from the original list.
Yeah.
Obviously you want a toilet.
Is it legally a house if you don't have a toilet?
I think that some houses, like apartments and stuff, it is legal to not have a toilet in there, but you have to have a communal toilet available in the building.
Okay. So it's not a house, but it's an apartment.
Yeah. Like
it's a residential area.
I'm putting this here purely because yes, the toilet is probably one of the greatest things humans have invented. Period. You should have it in your house, dum.
I have a placement question.
Yes.
How can you have a bidet and not have a toilet?
I guess the toilet's technically better than the bidet just by virtue of needing a toilet to attach the bidet to.
Well, I suppose there are, I think like...
There are all-in-one packages.
Well, there's also... some countries, I think it's like the Middle Eastern bidet, where it's a separate...
You're talking about the one that's in our like other bathroom.
No, that's a European bidet.
I hate that.
So the European bidet is kind of like a garden hose attached to your toilet.
Yeah, don't get those. Just for $40 on Amazon, you can get a bidet that just attaches to your toilet seat.
But I think the Middle Eastern bidet it looks kind of like a urinal, but it's not a urinal. It's like imagine if the urinal had a drinking fountain in it that just like sprayed water. So you kind of like squat over the...
Oh, is it kind of like those Japanese ones that look kind of like a L-shaped urinal where you like squat over it?
No, that's just a toilet.
That's just a toilet. Okay.
But it's essentially, you would see like a toilet and then next to it a bidet. And it's essentially like to separate them for like extra cleanliness. But like in the same way that you like sit on the toilet and then wash your hands in a sink, you wash your butt in the separate bidet. And I like coming from that culture, the thought is like you wouldn't use the toilet water to wash your hands. Why would you use the toilet water to wash your butt? And that's why they're separate things.
And just to be very clear,
what I'm saying, that's a very long tangent to say you technically can have a bidet without a toilet, but not this specific bidet.
To be clear, the toilet is not washing your butt with the same toilet water you are peeing and pooping into. It is washing your butt with the water that comes out of your pipes before it even hits the tank of your toilet. Just to be clear, just to be 100%, I don't want that idea that you just explained to like taint potential bidet wanters.
Right. Yeah. It's more like the thought of like using the same faucet to clean your hands is like coming from that culture. That's like the view they have of.
I'm fine with that view. I just want to make it very clear to Americans that the bidets you're going to find here in America are not those kinds of bidets.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is a ladder. I think you should have a ladder or step stool appropriate for your home.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily like meta, but it is something you should generally keep around to change light bulbs, because you don't want to be paying some guy or climbing up on a stack of crates to change a light bulb.
It's not like a quality of life, this changed my life kind of thing. It's just like one of those things like you have to have this.
This helps me not fall and kill myself.
Yeah. Like it's something that like you're not going to use it every day, but like if you don't have it, you're going to come across a time when you need
it. Yeah, I distinctly remember times when we lived in San Francisco where I was like, well, the bulb went out in the light fixture and we don't have a ladder. I guess we just live in the dark now.
Yeah.
We spent like 6 years in San Francisco with no living room light because like we just had no way of getting up to it. Like
Yeah.
the ceilings were too high. We had no room for a ladder.
I think Al finally changed it for us
Yeah, yeah,
once,
yeah.
and then you forgot that like you would never remember that we had lights.
I never turned it back on even after our building manager changed. Like he came to fix something else.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Would you like me to like replace that while I'm here?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Yeah.
And then I never used it, even though it got replaced.
Like it's the sort of thing where like we should have just called him and been like, "Hey, Al, we don't have a ladder that can reach this, but we bought light bulbs. Could you?"
Yeah, that's what building
replace
managers
this
are
or
for.
bring us a ladder. Like we should have asked him, but we just like lived in the dark.
Yeah, we just
like
I've
said,
always lived in the dark. Jocelyn just is unfortunately living in the dark with me.
Yeah. I'm okay with it. Like I don't feel the excess light is necessary. Like, you know, the natural light's fine. Like,
I'm sensitive to light. Like I'm typically fine with natural light. There are some days when the sun is like shining through the windows in a way that is really bad. But a big reason why we chose where we live is because it has really good natural lighting, and I'm very okay with natural lighting. I do not like fluorescent lights. It kind of gives me anxiety, makes me kind of like stressed out. Even like even like yellow light, if it's like, you know how sometimes yellow light can be kind of like dim and not very helpful?
yeah.
I would rather just have no light than that type of yellow light.
Mm-hmm.
And that tends to be the yellow light that I run into a lot. So,
yeah. Before we move on to the next one, may I have a bathroom break?
Ooh, a bathroom break? Only if you get me some water on the way back.
Okay. Future me entertained.
Future you entertained. Jocelyn, you know, we have a bidet. I'd hope after my death you are still using a bidet. Um, to talk about the types of bidets in particular, uh, there's the bidet like in the picture we showed here. It just uses water. You don't need electricity. That's a common misconception about bidets, is that all bidets need electricity. The only bidets that need electricity are the like really fancy ones that have like heated seats and like stuff like that, and like essentially butt dryers built into them. Uh those usually cost like anywhere from like 200 to 400 bucks. It really just depends on like the brand. The type of bidets that we're talking about usually cost like 30 to 60 bucks. Um, all you do is like, you know, that little tube that, you know, comes out of the tile of your bathroom and connects to like the boxy part of your toilet. You just turn off your water temporarily, unscrew that, put it down a towel because it'll probably make a little bit of a mess just because there's going to be some residual water there. Even if you flush out all the water before you do this, then you just use like a Y connector to attach your bidet to that plumbing, and then you attach it to your toilet seat that you already have. Uh, you might want to get some like little like razors to raise up the toilet seat to, you know, make it more comfortable. But that's all you have to do. All of them cost like 30 to 60 bucks. The 30 to $40 ones will, you know, be what I just described. But if you are willing to pay a little bit extra to get up into the $60 tier, you can get like these ones with like hinges and feminine sprays as well as butt sprays that just allow you to, you know, clean up a little bit better. There's another type of bidet that I'm told is used in Europe. We have one in our house. I hate using it. It's essentially like a hose hooked up to your toilet, and you would hold the hose up to your butt and spray your butt. Uh I still would prefer it over not having a bidet, but if I have to choose, I'm always using the type of bidet that just sprays your butt while you're sitting on the toilet. Uh, I I can guarantee you that a bidet attachment for your toilet is a net positive to your life. And here's the great thing: you don't need to be a homeowner to have a bidet. if you own an apartment, as long as it's got that tube that connects to the toilet, because we've hooked up bidets in multiple apartments that we've lived in, you can still just hook up the bidet to your apartment toilet. And if you ever move out of that place, you just detach the bidet, keep the box stored somewhere. It's got like a nice carrying handle on the box. You dry it off. Well, you sanitize it probably. You're probably going to want to sanitize it. You put it back in the box and then you just take it to your next apartment or your home if you ever, get the opportunity to move into a home.
Hello.
Hello. So future you's gonna be reminded of the reasons why we love the bidet.
Okay.
It definitely isn't a sales pitch to maybe the random person that, for whatever reason, decided to watch our stream and hear me talk about bidets multiple hours into the stream. Okay. Next up, we have just kind of like your standard like flat mop.
Okay.
I think these are actually super useful. You could use like a normal, like kind of like the mop, like like the old fashioned kind of mop. Those work too, but they're really hard to clean.
Yeah, the old like the noodly mops.
Yeah, they're hard to clean, and even when you clean them, they're kind of gross. I'm personally putting this flat style type of mop because they're essentially like microfiber moppers with like Velcro on the back of them, so you can like just stick them onto your mop. And when they get dirty, you just throw them in the washer. You can have multiple of them. You can buy these things at the freaking dollar store. They're like that easy to get a hold of. Uh, they're really nice to have. I wouldn't say like you have to have them, but like
the alternative is like getting a vinegar water bucket and dumping fluff and scrubbing
like
the floor on your hands.
Getting one of like the old style mops or like getting on your hands and knees. These I feel are just like a nice, like, whether you're living in an apartment, whether you're living in a home, whether you're just like renting a room from a friend, like these are a really nice thing to have if you have like hard surfaces that need to be cleaned. Heck, if you just want to buy the little Velcro microfiber things and use them to clean surfaces, like like table surfaces, they're really good. Like I don't personally do it. Like I just use like a dishcloth and like some sani fluids and stuff. Uh don't don't use Cloroxes except for like actual like messes that would ruin your like washcloths.
Yeah, I use the Clorox stuff for stuff that needs like the like sanitation
Yeah,
of
yeah,
a
yeah.
Clorox wipe.
But for the most part, like I just use like cleaning spray and washcloths. But you could use these microfiber pads for similar things. Next up is a duster. Same thing. It's useful and nice to have a duster. Uh, I spent a large chunk of my life never dusting, and to be honest with you, I didn't notice too much of a difference post duster and pre duster. Uh, but that's just because dust is one of those things that I don't think people pay attention to.
It's also something that like can't be stopped.
It's something that can't be
constant.
stopped. That's why I so wholeheartedly recommend the shop vac. It will help with dust. You can suck the dust out of places that you normally wouldn't be able to dust with a duster. But dusters are nice to have, especially if you've got like ceiling fans, especially if you have like light fixtures. There are some spots where the duster is needed to like get in there. And if you don't have one, your only option is, well, I guess this is just going to build up dust for the rest of my life.
Or like, again, your hands and a cloth.
Yeah, and trust me, as someone who's very allergic to dust, I do not want to use my hands on a cloth. Even using the duster can give me an allergic reaction, but it's way more bearable to me than like using hand and cloth. Uh Swiffer, I added this to this list.
Yeah.
Just so I could put it in trash tier.
So I the concept of like being locked into the Swiffer ecosystem and like having to buy refills and stuff, trash it.
Yeah.
However, what I have noticed after getting our washable duster, Swiffers do kind of like hold the dust better. Sometimes when I'm using the
Well, yeah, and that's why you have to trash it.
oh, you
Because
you
like
literally trash it after you
you
use
literally
it.
have to trash it.
Yeah.
But also like I just think I I really hate the marketing around Clorox and Swiffer products in particular because they're all marketed about like, oh, why use this reusable thing that you could just wash to sanitize it
Yeah.
when you could instead throw away this thing that you have to keep buying all the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you would want to wash your washcloths.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I'm saying is like that I see like a small glimmer of merit to the Swiffer just because like sometimes when I'm using the duster, it feels like I'm just kicking the dust up into the air and that isn't helpful.
Here's what I would say.
Uh-huh.
If you like these Swiffer styles of like dusters, what you need to do is buy a Swiffer handle and then buy reusable Swiffer heads that are washable from Amazon. It is a thing, it does exist. I went with this style of rewashable duster just because it was cheaper. But it is, if you like this style of Swiffer, like these actual things, there are washable layouts that look exactly like these.
I don't think it's the layout so much as like the fabric. Like I don't know if you could get the same fabric that like kind of eats the dust and
Maybe
still wash it out.
Are you saying it doesn't deserve to be in trash tier?
It does deserve to be in trash tier. But I have a grievance with the current duster where sometimes it feels like I just kind of like push the dust into the air and then it just resettles on my desk.
That's why I'm telling you the shop vac, man. Yeah. The shop vac's the king.
Yeah.
Okay. Sewing machine. Now, I will state, I've always wanted a sewing machine because I fancy myself someone who would make their own clothes one day.
You fancy
that also no. I wanted to make the joke. I want to make the joke. Okay. I make the joke.
Okay, you make the joke.
Also on that note, I fancy myself doing a lot of things some days. My life is a series of hobbies I have picked up and abandoned. That being said, I'm going to separate myself from the me who fancies myself a clothier. And I'm going to put it in okay, but you don't need it unless you're actually a clothier or doing crafts or a cosplayer. Otherwise, don't get a sewing machine. You probably won't use it. If we're talking about just like a handheld sewing kit, that's like an easy like A or B tier.
Yeah, so like, resew on a button, like stitch up a little hole.
Really, doing a button, useful. Fixing a hole, like small stuff like that. You don't need a big sewing machine for that. Sewing machines are for if you are making something. Okay. Moving on.
What is that?
It's a surround sound stereo speaker system.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you right now, trash this shit. When I visited my family, I've been around surround sounds before, but I visited my family back in Ohio a while ago. And they had recently gotten a surround sound speaker system, and it was freaking me out. Like every time like a loud sound happened in the movie, I would get startled and look around the room because I was like, where the hell is that sound coming from? Because like even non-startling sounds, like there are just these weird like noises that they choose to like pump to the speakers behind you. Like it's just awful. Like if you really like this stuff, like if you're like a super audiophile person, I guess for you it would be up here in meta. But honestly, for everybody else, your average American, you do not need this. Maybe get a sound bar
Yeah,
if you're wanting something a little
yeah, I
fancier.
think if you're like the average American household and you just want like your at home movies to sound better, get a sound bar. Like I'm not as startled by noises as Austin is, but I really dislike the feeling of
Yeah,
sound pulsating through my body.
it's just weird.
But like sound bars, like just anything that's not the default TV speakers is gonna sound better than the default TV speakers, and a
Usually,
sound bar
yeah.
is like a nice, compact, easy, like good bang for your buck.
Yeah. I think a soundbar is totally reasonable. Surround sound stereo systems are not reasonable. Oh, did you have
Oh,
one?
I was just gonna say that like sound bars can also be mounted if you have a mounted TV,
Mm-hmm.
or
That's
like
true. That's true.
they fit very like slimly and like unobtrusively on your like entertainment cabinet if you have one of those for your TV. So like yeah, very very like small and minimalist sound bars. Surround sound just not pleasant.
It also takes up just a lot of space.
It does.
Takes up a lot of space. Okay, so this is a scanner printer combo.
Yeah.
Now I am going to say something.
Okay.
Just a scanner, get rid of it. Just a printer, get rid of it. I am specifically talking about scanner printer combo because it is the only way that the space it consumes is acceptable.
Yeah.
And I would put this in the useful, nice to have tier because it is useful and nice to have. But here's a little hack for you guys. If you need something printed, you can just go to the library. It might cost like a dime, but like people literally throw dimes away.
So here's my thought, and before you started talking, what my thought was: scanner printer combo, waste of space, use once or twice. If you need to print something or scan something, go to the library and do it.
Well, here's the thing. I think that the reason this is useful and nice to have, I don't think your average person would actually use the printer part all that often.
Yeah.
The scanner part is the real value here. It's just a scanner by itself seems sort of like a, well, for a similar price, I could have also had the ability to print.
I've never seen a scanner by itself.
You can get a scanner by itself. But the reason why I think the scanner plus printer elevates it to it's nice to have if you have it is because scanning documents is really useful. I often take pictures of documents and upload them. Okay. And like it's not the best quality all the time because lighting and there's sometimes like your camera will try and turn it into a document when it's not really at like the right angle for it. Sometimes it'll get a little blurry because you just like your hand jiggled just ever so slightly when the actual photo happens. I think that having a scanner available and the potential to print is something that if you have it, if you need it, it's useful and nice to have around. I think it's more useful
this
than
does not deserve to be in the same tier as a toaster.
Okay, how about this? Will you accept that? Okay, but you don't need it.
It's closer, but like by definition, it is a waste of space, and you use it once or twice.
Fine. I'll cede. Now this one's easy. Fax machine.
Trash it.
I have had to fax one thing in my entire life, and also a hack for you. You can fax things at the library. So you don't need a fax machine unless you're like a boomer.
A Japanese business owner?
Yeah, unless you're a Japanese business owner, you do not need a fax machine. This, I'm not 100% sure what it is. I think this is like an under the counter like cooler system like you would see in a restaurant. I'm just gonna put it in trash because partially I don't know what it is.
I don't know what that is.
It looks like some sort of like cooler fridge situation.
Yeah, at first I thought it was like a cube freezer, but it's got things on the front.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So like if this is what I think it is.
Unless that's like an AC system.
Potentially. Oh, maybe this is. No, because there's no holes for vents on the side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna put it in trash for now, assuming that it is some sort of like weird fridge setup, like an under the counter fridge setup.
I've never heard of something.
I
I
no
would sooner
freaking streamers have these in their fancy little houses.
I would sooner just remove the picture.
I
Because
don't
we
know how.
Just leave it at the end
Okay.
and like.
Sonic Air toothbrush. I really like them. This is bias. I really
Yeah.
like the Sonic Air toothbrushes.
Frankly, I think that they might belong in meta.
Really?
Well,
It's just there's no scientific proof that they are better than like an electric toothbrush or like
so no. So electric toothbrushes that aren't Sonic, those are trash. Those aren't worth anything. They don't like do much. But your dentist specifically said like the Sonic toothbrush gets you that clean. And if a dentist said it,
okay.
I'm bound to
You
trust
know,
it.
we'll put it in meta just because a dentist told me to. I added this one.
Yeah.
It's not technically an appliance, a bookcase.
You need to have. You have to. Keep your
I
books somewhere.
I feel like every house should have at least one bookcase,
Mhm.
even if you are not storing your books on it. You got to put your shit somewhere.
Yeah, you can put your knickknacks
You,
on
you got to
it.
put your Funko Pop somewhere.
You can put your video games on it.
You can put your video game,
DVDs on it,
DVDs.
your CD collection, your vinyl
Yeah.
collection.
Even if it's a cheap, like $20, $30 bookcase that you bought at Target, like you should have a bookcase in your house. I'm just saying, I feel like this is an easy A tier.
Yeah.
Now,
The bug grabber.
yes. So I added this one.
Yeah.
I added this one. So this, just so anybody looking can figure out what it is, this is a stick with a grabber on the end. You will often see old people use this to pick up things like remotes. You'll often see lazy people use this to pick up things. This is not why I'm putting it in meta. Here in Texas, it turns out bugs exist. And
It's horrifying.
well, my wife is more horrified by it than I am. I am accepting of it. I am in the camp of, hey, bug, if you're in my house, that's my territory. You need to go back outside. But I would prefer not to touch them with my bare hands, and I would prefer not to crush them through a napkin. There are certain bugs that I'm willing to let outside. I will not name them. But for the most part, we use this to pick up and crush bugs that get inside of our house. It is just a nice, convenient way for dealing with it. I think if anybody in existence even mildly dislikes like touching bugs, being near bugs, this thing will change your life. We always call it the claw, Toy Story, haha, hee hee. But this thing is so convenient. It's so nice because you get all the benefits of killing a bug without having to like actually clean it up. You can just use the grabber and from a safe distance of 2 to 3 feet, kill it or pick up its dead body after you've hit it with a fly swatter. Now, I would not put fly swatter in meta, but you should have a fly swatter in your house.
Yeah.
It's not just for killing flies. I've killed a lot of wasps with fly swatters. You don't need one of those.
You got the scorpion with the fly swatter, didn't you?
Yeah, I've killed a lot of scorpions with fly swatters too.
A lot? There's been more than one?
You don't need to know how many scorpions I've killed.
Oh no. Oh no.
I've killed scorpions, I've killed spiders, I've killed flies, I've killed wasps. The fly swatter is goated. Now, I wouldn't put it in meta because the fly swatter, if I kill something with it, I've got to like spatula style scoop up that dead bug. I don't like doing that. That's a little too close to me, and I've had a lot of bugs find out that they're not actually dead yet and start crawling towards me. I'm not into it. I just grab the claw and the fly swatter when I've got to do some bug murdering. You don't need sprays. You just need a fly swatter and the god tier grabber. And I guess if you're old and lazy, this is also God tier for you. But this is for me, it's specifically for bugs. An exercise bike. I will let my wife comment on this because while I use it occasionally, she uses it almost every day, except for like, the occasional
I
off day.
yeah, I have a schedule.
Yeah, she has a schedule. She uses it every day, 30 minutes. I'm very proud of her. She's really cool. Future Jocelyn, know that I love you for specifically taking the time to take care of yourself. Because there was a long period of time where she wasn't really taking care of herself and I was concerned for her. And I don't know if she did it for me. I like to think she did it for me. But I know the truth of the matter is she probably was feeling bad about how she was feeling bad. Where would you put the bike? Because your opinion is the only one that matters on
Okay.
this one.
So I'm going to like take this bike and also broaden it to like any like at home dedicated
Like
exercise
your
machine.
one at home dedicated
Yeah.
exercise
For
machine.
some people that's a
Treadmill,
treadmill.
elliptical,
For
etc.
some
etc.
people that's a Bowflex. But for me it's an exercise bike.
This is your
It's
exercise equipment of choice,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. So for many people, this becomes a D tier where it's a waste of space because you buy it once
And then you don't commit.
and then you don't commit to it. But if you can commit to it, it is a very important piece of equipment. Like I might put it, if you're willing to use it, into meta because I could not exercise to the extent that I do without the exercise bike. I would not be able to commit to the level of exercise that the bike provides for me. Thank you. You protect me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I protect her. No, I agree. I think that exercise is one of the most important things you can do just to be happier, honestly. That's why I was really happy when she like committed to using the bike because I was like, this is gonna make her feel better. She's gonna be more confident with herself. Um, I unfortunately can't commit to the bike as well. Uh, I'm pretty sure I have like I haven't been diagnosed with this, but I'm pretty sure I have like a body disorder that like I just have too many histamines in me. So when I start heating up or exerting myself too much, my whole body will be like pins and needles. So I usually get my exercise by walking, doing some light weights, stretches, stuff like that. I have to do it longer than if I just rode the bike, which is kind of frustrating for me because I would prefer to just ride this bike for 30 minutes rather than spending like 30 minutes to an hour walking around the house. And then after walking around the house for 30 minutes, then doing stretches and some weights and like, squats and stuff like
Have you
that.
ever tried taking a allergy pill and then
Well, the allergy
riding the
pills
bike?
make me sleepy.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take them. I could maybe try and exercise at the very end of the day when I normally take my allergy pills. But who wants to exercise at the end of the day? Because then you have to, shower as
Yeah.
well.
It'd be the sort of thing where like maybe like Gura starts sweeping.
Yeah.
Then you like ride the bike. You take your allergy pill, ride the bike, shower,
Yeah.
and then like
For
that would have to be your time.
For me, I would personally want a treadmill. I think I could commit to a treadmill because I love walking. Like I I begrudge the fact that I begrudge walking around the house for 30 minutes, not because I hate walking. I begrudge it because I would love to walk outside, but there's just not really a good space for walking outside around here.
Yeah.
The pavement here is really uneven. It's really easy to like hurt your ankles.
Maybe what we need for you is like one of those low profile desk treadmills
That
so that
I've
you could
I've
like
considered them. I've
do
considered
stuff
them.
online while you're walking.
But
and then you can walk for longer.
here's some meta for everybody. If you're working a remote job, if you're lucky enough to do a remote job, a lot of them have exercise stipends. And if you're gonna get exercise equipment, you should use those stipends.
That's true. I have an exercise stipend. If you want a treadmill, we gotta like get that in.
Yeah, do it.
Now.
Do it.
Okay.
Put it on the to-do list.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Now that's
but
how the to-do list works.
In short, exercise equipment, it's either S or D and no in between.
Yeah. I totally agree with my wife. Exercise is very important. Um, I didn't put them on here, but I'll kind of lump it in with this since it's just sort of like exercise equipment of choice. I have 5 pound dumbbells, 10 pound dumbbells, and 15 pound dumbbells. Unless you're really serious about bodybuilding, I don't think you need anything higher than like 15, maybe 20 if like you do want to build a little bit of muscle. But having those 3 sets of dumbbells, it's cheaper than going to the gym to use them. I'm able to stay pretty lean using them. I'm not like ripped or anything, but like, I've got a little bit of tone in my body. Uh, I'd say having like some dumbbells of a weight you are comfortable using at home is also an S tier thing. They don't take up much space, and they're very easy to just pick up, do some reps throughout the day. I'm also a big fan of squatting throughout the day.
Exercise bands are also like a good choice.
Yeah, exercise bands are great. I specifically really like them for stretching. You can stretch without them, but the resistance they give like really stretches what you're trying to stretch a lot better. But I'm going to move on from exercise because you either care about it or you don't care. Or you care but you don't have the like morale or like dedication to care long enough to do anything with it.
You can have that. You just need to like find what will hold you accountable.
Okay. Next, I actually have 3 different chairs on here.
Yes, I see.
I have a Herman Miller, which is just a stand-in for a quality office chair.
So it's not specifically the Aeron.
It is a Herman Miller level of chair. Like, I think our office chairs are they're not Herman Miller level. They're like maybe one step below, where it's like, they're like an off-brand Herman Miller style of chair. I like our current chairs. That's why, even though I've kind of worn out a bunch of parts of it, I'm still using it and just like finding hacks to keep it in business. Because I just like a good office chair.
Yeah.
I will just go ahead and say this.
Meta.
Invest in a good office chair.
Invest in the things that separate you from the ground.
Yes. If you're playing games at home, get a good office chair. If you work from home, get a good office chair. If you use a computer at home often or are sitting at a table using a laptop computer or tablet device, get a good computer chair. Now, there's still 2 other chairs here. A gaming chair, not nearly as good as an actual office chair. There was a period of my life where I felt like they were just as good. It is not true. These racing car gaming chairs are not good for your ergonomics. They will lead to problems later down the road. These are really only good for like smaller people who like kind of curling up in their chair, kind of like they're nesting in them. But even then, they're not always that great because they can sometimes be so narrow that they don't really let you like curl up in them. Yeah. I'd say these are better than the next chair that I'm going to mention, but you don't need this chair. You only need this chair if you're if you want to look cool in your streaming. And even then, I don't think you need it.
I am going to say to these chairs, trash it. And the reason I say that is because when I was doing the stretching app that I got through my insurance,
they did specifically say these are bad.
They didn't talk about these kinds of chairs, but when they talked about posture, the phrase was, the best position is the next position.
It's true. You do want to be able to move.
Like, posture isn't about like sitting perfectly straight up and down rigidly all the time. It's about having the freedom to like sit in the spot that your body is comfortable in. Yeah. And these chairs are going to lead to like sores and like they intentionally like keep you locked in. Yeah.
The bucket style, I'd totally forgotten about that. That's what the bucket chairs do. These bucket chairs are meant to keep you in place because they were designed for going really, really fast.
Yeah. They are designed
Yeah.
for race cars where like security in the chair is important.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're doing.
And on that note, a just sort of like budget office chair, I think you should treat yourself to at least a mid-tier knockoff Herman Miller chair.
Mhm.
But if you cannot do that, what do you think? C or B? I want to put it in C because
Yeah.
I don't think you should be getting this chair.
Yeah, it's not like compare it to like a kitchen chair, right? Like if you just like pulled your kitchen chair up to your desk, is that going to be more or less comfortable than these chairs? The seat might be like softer and squishier on this office chair, but I think your posture is going to be poorer in this office chair compared to like your kitchen table chair. So I don't know. It's like you need something to sit at a desk, and like the kitchen table chair is probably gonna mess up your carpet or whatever. Like you can't really drag that in and out of the desk, so the wheelie bottom is important to have. But it's just such an inferior product compared to like the Ermin Miller and Ermin Miller likes. You really need something that's gonna like help you with your posture, and these guys, they're not cutting it.
Yeah, I'll say at the very least, if you're gonna get a crappy office chair, don't get the crappy office chairs that don't have arms on them. You know what I'm talking about. The ones
Yeah.
we have one in the kitchen from when we used to live in one of the apartments.
Mhm.
Just because it's like it'll be useful someday, I guess.
We
But
needed
then
something like tiny.
yeah, we needed something tiny, cheap, and quick. They're Rolly chairs. I'm sure everybody's seen these. But like they are not good for your posture. They're only there for like a pinch. Okay. So this is the one outdoor thing I made an exception for.
Okay.
A doorbell camera. I think that is life changing. I think being able to see who is at your door, especially when this thing can recognize when you've received a package and notify you even when you're not home,
Mhm.
is a game changer. I think that we have a security system because I'm a paranoid person, and if I don't have a security system, I can't sleep. I didn't have this problem when we lived in the middle of San Francisco.
Well, that's because you had to get through the front door
Yeah,
and an apartment
that's
door.
because there
And
were
the
a
thief
lot
would
of
have to randomly select
our
our
apartment.
apartment
I,
out
I
of like
felt
8 floors.
I felt very safe in an apartment that was in not a very good neighborhood, I will add. But when we moved out here to the burbs, uh suddenly I was just terrified of it. Like I'd always had like imaginations of someone breaking in and how I would deal with it. Like
Yeah.
it's always been a fear in my mind,
Yeah.
but I was never actively scared
Yeah.
when we lived in the apartment.
And there's also like on Nextdoor all those people posting like videos from their home cameras like who's this person creeping around my car at night? Like
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if it's a teenager like pulling pranks or if someone's like scoping out cars. We don't park our car outside, so like we don't really get much of that. But
Yeah. But what I brought up the security system for was security systems, you don't necessarily have to have it. Unless you're like me and you're really paranoid and full of anxiety, you probably don't need a security system. The odds of someone actually breaking into your house are pretty unlikely unless you're just like never home and for some reason keep a lot of valuable things at home despite never being at home. But I will say every home, apartment, or uh house should have a doorbell camera. It is such a huge quality of life and safety for you to be able to see who is at your door without you personally having to come to that door.
yeah. And the number of people who have waved at our doorbell camera after it's gone camera recording at them, just like when someone knows or even thinks they're being recorded, They
Yeah.
behave differently.
Door-to-door salesmen leave a lot quicker after the doorbell lets them know they're being recorded.
Yeah.
They don't like to hang around. But yeah, I think the doorbell is like a life-changing. This is like one of the few things that like, the techies got right.
Yeah.
The doorbell camera.
And like even if it doesn't save recordings of like everything that's going on, it's still useful. Like I'm glad that it saves at least like I don't know how long, like a week or two's worth of people who approach our door. Like if someone breaks into our neighbor's house like across the street, our doorbell camera probably won't have like saved that, but we could probably like contact the security
Yeah,
company
and they might
and
have it.
they would probably have
They
it.
probably
But
have a way of.
they have a way of retrieving that. Like if we needed to
Yeah.
provide evidence for something like that.
This is something I added because I remembered the visit to my family's house.
Yeah.
This is an in-home dog gate.
Oh, doggy and children.
Yes. Which we personally don't have a pet.
Or a child.
Or a child.
Or a child pet.
Or a child pet. We just have a lot of plushies. While I personally don't have this, I thought this was extremely genius when I saw it at my parents' house. Like they have a lot of pets. They have kids running around the house.
Mhm.
This seems like a very smart way to force kids to not run around and get hurt. Because there is like a little door oftentimes on these things that like a kid can open, but like it stops them from like just
it's a
running
speed
through
bump.
it. Yeah, it's a speed bump. It keeps the animals where they need to be. And honestly, if we ever get a dog, which we've talked about on and off again for a long time, I would probably set up one of these on like at least a room or two of the house.
Yeah.
Just because there's no reason for the animal to be going in there.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I necessarily want them in the bedroom when we're not in the bedroom.
Right.
For example, I don't think I'd mind if we're in there and they're sleeping and they want to like.
For individual rooms, we can probably just shut the door. The thing I was thinking was the archway that goes to the bathroom and my 2 rooms.
That was the big one I was thinking of as well. But I think that if you're a pet owner or a kid owner, this is a really cool invention. We don't personally have one, but I will say I will have at least one of these if we get a pet or theoretically a kid, though the latter is way more unlikely.
Yeah. It's also good for if your kid is upstairs or your dog is upstairs.
Yeah. My parents had it on the stairs.
Yeah, your parents had it at the bottom of the stairs to stop kids and dogs from going up.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, we had kind of like a loft play area with like, couch TV toys at the top of the stairs. And when my brother was young, we had a baby gate there to stop him from falling down the stairs. So there was one just at the top of the stairs. So it's good in a lot of situations. Like I don't know what the dog situation was like when you were growing up in that home. Were they like always up and down the stairs?
Yes, it was constant. My family had way too many pets. They were only big dogs too. If we get a dog, I definitely want like a smaller, medium at biggest dog.
Right.
Just because like I don't like them being able to knock me down and tear my throat out.
You don't want the dog to be stronger than you.
I don't want the dog to be stronger than me. I want to be able to give them one end of a rope and me like playfully like act like I'm trying hard while they go to town. That's what I want. The dogs I had growing up, those MFers could like rip the rope in half. If I fought back too much, they would take that rope apart. So like not having this growing up was like really frustrating. Yeah. But my parents found this and clearly are taking advantage of it.
Yes.
Going back to the desks,
going
chairs.
Back to ergonomics.
So my bias wants to put this in meta. because me and my wife, we use our standing desk pretty often. But I don't want to put it in meta because I know it's not for everybody. And also, I'm sure a lot of people have read articles about how like standing desks aren't actually healthier than a normal desk. And the thing I say to that is standing desks are healthier than a normal desk. It's just those articles are talking about people who are standing at the desk and that's it.
Yeah.
The reason why the standing desks are so good for us is because when you're already in the standing position, it's very easy for you to go like, "Oh, this thing's loading. I'll do a couple squats." Or like, "Oh, I'll take a quick trip to my partner's office and chit-chat a little bit and then walk back." The thing with like ergonomics and like posture and stuff like that, the reason why the standing desk is healthier for you is because if you are actually moving around while using the standing desk, it's keeping you mobile. It's keeping you changing positions.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to what, Jocelyn was saying about how the
Yeah.
the best position is the next
Yeah.
position.
I was waiting for a moment for you to stop yapping so I could say
I
that.
never stop yapping.
But
I'm the yapper.
But there's also like, I've heard like, health people say like sitting is the new smoking, where like sitting is not as bad for you as smoking, but like with smoking heavily on the decline, sitting is kind of like one of the next big like
Things to like
widespread
demonize,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, to demonize that like everyone is kind of like in a more sedentary lifestyle at
Yeah.
this point. Like there's just fewer people like up and about.
And
So the sit stand desk, like it gives you that opportunity to like
do both.
do both. You can stand for a little bit so you're not sitting all day every day. What I personally do is I stand until lunch. After lunch, I set it down to sitting mode, and then for the last hour of the day, I stand back up.
Yeah.
And that kind of it means that I'm going back and forth. The next position is the best position. So it allows for a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. I really like my standing desk for when I'm drawing. I've got like a drawing tablet to the side of me, but it's kind of a pain to like hook up a separate mouse and keyboard to the drawing tablet. So if I need to do mouse and keyboard stuff, I'll just like turn to my standing desk, make the adjustment that I need, and then go back to drawing. I also really like it for like meetings and interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you are a lot more confident when you're standing. Like if you're standing, you got arms akimbo, like you feel like you can take on the world. You can't project that level of like energy and confidence when you're like slouching down in your chair.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of benefits to a standing desk. I'd say like give it a chance. Worst case scenario, you just never use the standing mode of it.
The worst case scenario, you spent money, but it's not taking up extra space.
And they're still very nice desks.
Yeah.
To be very clear. Like my standing desk is way nicer than any desk I've ever owned, to the point where like if it ends up breaking, I'll probably like just replace the wooden top with a new wooden top of maybe even better quality.
Unless it's the motor.
Unless it's the motor to the brakes. If the motor breaks, what am I going to do? But yeah. The standing desk I hauled like, halfway across the country to keep it. I love having a standing desk.
And even mine, like the motor on mine is slower, less powerful. The top of mine is like that kind of like fake, like that kind of like wood pulp that's coated in like a vinyl, but it's still good because like, most of your desks nowadays are gonna be kind of that wood pulp coated in vinyl level. And like it does its job. It is a desk that my computer sits on, and it can sit or it can stand. Yep. And it's programmable. I have like 4 different presets. Like there's no complaints about it. It's just not as high quality as Austin's desk, and that's fine. I don't need like the nice wood or anything. It's just a nice to have.
Okay. Last one. I'm going to put this in you should have. This is a utility screwdriver.
So you're specifically going with the screwdriver that has the replaceable.
I think that apartment or house everyone should have a decent quality screwdriver with changeable heads because it is just so convenient. Like, I wouldn't put it up here in meta defining because, like, your standard Phillips head will, like, get most jobs done.
Yeah.
But it's just so convenient to have a screwdriver that can be the standard screwdriver and then some of the more obscure ones that you're going to run into. Like,
So you're saying that, like, even if you, like, are using tools a lot at home, like, say you're like a woodworker or you're doing like a lot of stuff in your like little
I think
garage
even your
workshop.
average handyman would want one of these around.
Okay.
But they probably have some dedicated higher quality
like,
screwdrivers.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you have dedicated higher quality, like, individual screwdrivers, do you still want this?
I'd say you always want at least one, because this is the kind of thing you can put in your pocket and just have it available. The kind of thing you can keep in your car and like have available if something comes up. The only people I'd think who would maybe never use this but could still just have it as a just in case is those people who will buy like those really fancy like briefcases full of screwdrivers and sprockets and stuff. My stepdad had them, never used it, by the way.
Of course.
He always used like these utility screwdrivers. But I feel like people who buy those are the only ones who actually use them are like career craftsmen or repairmen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this will get the job done most of the time. And if you need a specific type of screwdriver for the kind of work you do, you will have that screwdriver and you will have it at your workstation. This is just good for your average American. Like 95% of people out there will find this useful. I was tempted to put a mallet on this list, by the way.
Bro, the mallet's
dude,
so good.
I bought a mallet a long time ago for $1 at like a dollar store. I've used that mallet so many times. It is like one of the best tools I've ever had.
The other day, I got out like a bag of frozen fruit that hadn't been opened yet. Austin's like, wait, hold on. Runs away, scampers away. This little scamp comes back with the mallet, and he's like, okay, I'm ready. Put that down. And he like whacks the frozen fruit bag with the mallet. The fruit was, to his credit, all kind of like stuck together, frozen together, and the nice soft mallet broke the fruit apart without breaking the fruit itself.
Yep.
So yeah, useful stuff.
Yeah.
It was just a funny thing the way you're like, hold on, and then you scamper, and I'm like, what's happening?
I love that mallet, man. Like, if I were to have an inanimate object as like a best friend, that mallet's my buddy. If I go insane one day, bring me my mallet.
Okay.
Not so I can kill myself with it, but just so like I have a friend to talk to.
Yeah. You don't want me to bring you like Bidoof?
Bring me Bidoof too.
Don't hit Bidoof with the mallet.
I can't promise Bidoof that. Bidoof's my favorite Pokemon, but no, since nobody watches this, Jocelyn, I'm just reminding you that I love Bidoof.
And that you definitely bought yourself a Bidoof.
Yes.
It wasn't anything to do with anything I did.
Well, we've been over this. I don't like getting gifts even when I'm not in a relationship with the person I share a bank account with. But I'm also reluctant to buy the things that I want sometimes because like there are certain frivolous purchases I make that I feel are like, well, this is a practical frivolous purchase.
Right.
Then there are things like plushies where I'm like, if I bought every plushie that I wanted, we would be broke. We would be broke. We would have no room and we would be broke. Because I just love stuffed animals. I think they look cool. And I'm not talking about like cheap ones that you might find at like Target or something. I'm talking about like
you're not Jaden Animations buying every sitting cutie.
Like the type of plushies I like are those ones that are like usually minimum $30 to $50. And like the stitching's good, they're stuffed well, like they look pleasing, they look like the thing that they were designed to look like. Primarily like Pokemon plushies and like Nintendo plushies. Nintendo does a really good job with most of their plushies. They do definitely have lines of plushies that are like cheap
Bad.
fabric that
Yeah.
I will not buy.
The line that I draw is like if you're using like flat felt to mimic the features of a character, it's a bad plushie.
But yeah, but I don't like receiving gifts. So she essentially psyoped me into getting a Bidoof from Build-A-Bear Workshop because it was a crime of convenience, air quotes, since we were there when it happened. What's funny is it was a Build-A-Bear at Kings Island in Ohio. I didn't even know that they put Build-A-Bears in places like that. But when you think about it, it's kind of a genius place because you're already in a spending mood at an amusement park because you're like, I just accept the fact that I'm gonna have to spend money here.
Yeah.
And why waste your money at one of the stupid carnival games that are rigged when you could instead pay less than what you would pay at those carnival games to get a high quality stuffed animal? Mm-hmm. It's genius. And your kid gets to participate.
Yeah. And it's like right next to the entrance exit too.
And even if you're an adult, they'll make you do the little like love song and kiss the little heart that you put in your plushie. I never got to do that before because I usually just order them online. I'd love if I ever retire, I might work at Build-A-Bear to my own detriment. Okay, but this was the tier list. I feel like I hit a good variety of things.
Is there anything that needs to be realigned now that
yeah.
Done?
Let's see here.
List?
I mean, you need a shower. I would move the shower above a Roomba.
Shower is kind of like a necessary thing, similar to a toilet and a fridge.
Yeah.
Like, it's like some of those things are just kind of like unfair to.
I guess I do like my toothbrush more than the shop vac, but the shop vac is great. Exercise bike. I think it's very important to exercise. I'll put it above the Sonic Air because you can use a normal toothbrush.
Yeah.
But your exercise equipment of choice is your exercise equipment of choice. It's important to exercise to be happy. Chair. I'm gonna put it above the shop vac just because like this is an everyday thing. Mm-hmm. Doorbell, I feel like this is accurate, and I've got the bug grabber up here just to make it very clear who protects who in this household. I'm not scared, they're scared.
Yeah. You could go without preserving food ever, but as long as the bugs don't have to be touched.
Yeah. No, if we're being realistic, like this is I'll put it right underneath the shop vac because I can also just suck up. You could shop vac the bug. Let's see here. I'll move the Instapot above the blender. Because if
goes above the blender too.
Yeah. If it's our household, I mean, I would rank the blender higher, but like we use these three things like on the weekly. Dishwasher, nice sink. Vacuum, I use like once to twice a month. Ladder, it doesn't get used like a ton, but I use it often enough. I'll put it over here with the screwdriver. I'd say I use them usually if I'm using the screwdriver, actually I'm using the ladder too. I will put standing desk above bookcase, but they're pretty close. Fly swatter. I'd rather have if you have the grabber.
Yeah.
And
you can roll up a newspaper or a magazine.
Well, I used the newspaper for a long time until I was like, maybe I should just pay the like $2 to get like a fly swatter.
Yeah.
And my life has been better since. Let's see. The air fryer, like I said, just use your fucking oven, dude. Like, unless I will say it's meta if you're a college student. But if you have an oven, just use the oven. The only thing I think an air fryer is particularly good for if you eat a lot of frozen food, I have heard that like frozen food, things like pizza rolls, chicken
Yeah.
nuggets, stuff like that, is really good in the air fryer. We're a household that's just like we want to minimize how much frozen food we eat because that shit's just not good for you.
Yeah.
Toaster is goated. I personally would have it higher, but saner minds have talked me down.
It does one thing.
It does one thing, but man, does it do that one thing good. Stand mixer, really good for the people who actually use it. Kettle and coffee maker, they're kind of just, they're in the same tier of category. I would put crock pot up here.
Yeah.
Because it's just sort of like
It's
a
just
slower Instapot,
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
Fans fine. Smart TV's fine. Uh yeah, the mop and the duster being here towards the bottom is fine. Uh you know what?
What?
I'll put microwave bottom of B
Okay.
because I've got a feeling that your average person probably loves their microwave. Like this, I feel like this is a compromise between your average American and us people who are just like, yeah, we just use it for leftovers, you know?
Yeah. And like we could find a different way to cook our
We
leftovers.
melt butter in it
Yeah.
only because it's inconvenient to melt butter in like a metal bowl on the stovetop. But the freaking toaster oven, get that shit out of here. I'd put it in trash if like people like I remember when we visited my family
Oh, yeah.
and my stepbrother, who's still living with my family by the way, had bought a toaster oven, used it one time, got it messy, didn't clean it, and now just uses it as sort of like an extra cupboard for all of his like uh plastic wares and cups and stuff that my parents won't let him put in their cupboards.
So wait, is it like still like greasy to this day and he's
Yeah.
putting clean cups
Yeah.
in it?
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. My stepbrother is a freaking mess of a human being. But I could talk for hours about him how much of a mess he is. Um after thinking about it, I'm gonna move these above the hand mixer because
Yeah.
hand mixers it's kind of
Yeah.
lame. I think this belongs here. Yeah,
Do you think the
I don't
bread maker goes above or below the hand mixer?
above for sure.
Yeah.
I
Does the grill go above or below the hand mixer?
honestly I'd throw a grill in the garbage if I didn't know that people insisted that they
Yeah.
grill sometimes.
Yeah.
Because like seriously, this is like a couple times a year maybe. Like
Mhm.
honestly, I think it should be here, but I'm letting it go here just because, America.
What about the iron compared to the grill?
I mean,
Maybe people
I
grill more than they iron their clothes.
it's kind of hard to say. I'm personally more likely to use this, but
Yeah.
this all makes sense to me. I would love a scanner, but
I mean, you can put that at top of D if you want.
yeah, top of D. I think it's the most useful thing in D at the very least.
It's the most useful thing in D. It's just by definition, it takes up space, gets dusty. You only use it once or twice. Like from a cost benefit perspective, like you're just better off paying 10 cents a page to scan or print at the library than to spend like $100+ on a printer scanner to keep in your home.
Not a day goes by that I don't look at the bathtub in our master bathroom and go like, I wish this was just one nice big stand walk-in shower.
Yeah.
Every single day I look at it and I'm just like, fuck this. If we could have got that one house that had that really funky design, but like that really nice walk-in
Yeah.
shower. Oh man. Oh, it could have been. What could have been. But that house was way out of our budget. Okay. yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with this. The general order is fairly
Yeah.
correct as well.
Any given day, maybe we'd feel more or less strongly about something, but it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Plus, we kind of have to wrap this up. My throat's closing up. I've been yapping. I've been yapping
Austin
too
the
long.
Yap Master,
I am
the
the yap
CEO of
master.
Yap.
It's a good thing it's the weekends, and I don't plan to play my flute on weekends.
Okay.
Bye.